All right, so I got a new battle. I made a new team. Basically, the thing is, Hypno is like one of my favorite Pokemon, but it's cursed with being like kind of shitty. So every once in a while, like every few months, I go in this loop where I say, hey, you know what? I really like Hypno. I'm gonna make a team around it, and this time it's gonna be good. And I make a team. Um, and Hypno ends up sucking. It's usually not Hypno that's bad. It's usually just like he's really unlucky. Like out of all the Pokemon, I think Hypno is just cursed to be unlucky because it always gets critted, it always misses, it always gets like flinched from. I don't know. I had a game and I got flinched, but it always has. Oh, bite. I think I get flinched by like a Persian with a technician bite or something, but it always gets like just shot on with hacks. So I always get frustrated and stop using the team after a few battles, but that didn't happen yet. So I found a really I thought this was a really good battle. It turned out to be a really long battle, and it was a very hacksy battle. But none of the hacks really mattered. It's just like really funny to see the sheer amount of hacks that went on. Because if you count the crits that went on this game, I think you'll find it funny as well. But there was a lot. One of the coolest things about this battle, though, is both of us were using a lot of PU Pokemon. And obviously we're in the NU tier, not the PU tier, but we're both using PU Pokemon. And the best part is, um, the biggest threat on my team to his team was a PU Pokemon, and the biggest threat on his team to my team was a PU Pokemon. He had a hard time breaking my Haunter, and I had a hard time breaking his Roselia. So it was really interesting just to see, because these things are PU, which means they're supposed to be worse than everything in NU, and they're not. Another thing I really liked about how this battle went was I was able to kind of judge. I was able to kind of hold on to a few things. You'll notice with Audino, I don't Mega Evolve for a very long time, even after I start Calm Minding. So I'm able to really get a lot of benefit out of Regenerator, and you'll see it actually comes in handy because I switch out after I start Calm Minding. Um, Another thing is I don't reveal Rest on one of my Pokemon for a very long time throughout the game, so he actually ends up going for U-turn, thinking that it'll bring me low enough to where like Toxic will kill me after. You'll see what I'm talking about. But on one of my Pokemon that has Rest, he went for U-turn because Toxic damage would kill me after, and that actually allowed me to get a Rest up and keep that alive, which is also a really interesting aspect that I think I was able to take advantage of. And the last thing I really liked was just how Beast Haunter was. I kind of held on to Disable, I think, for a little bit, and I think it took him off guard. But basically, the unorthodox sub Disable Haunter set won me the game. I think it killed like literally every one of his Pokemon except for like one of them. But that one Pokemon, it did 50% to that Pokemon anyway, so it's technically like he killed that Pokemon. But it was a very good game. I really enjoyed it. I'll stop talking and I will play the battle. Alright, so I'm on the other side. I usually am on the other side. He leads with Primeape. I lead with Vileplume. I'm predicting the Seismitoad. Um, and half his team are most of his team is U-turners and Volt Switchers. Well, not Volt Switchers, but most of his team has U-turn. So I feel Vileplume leading. I'll eventually get Effect Spore hacks, so that's kind of nice. I get the crit with the Sludge Bomb, which is kind of just goes to show how nice this battle is going to turn up. And I figure he's just going to start wanting to spam spikes, so let's set up with the old Haunter. He goes into this, and it's definitely going to be going for a knockoff or a U-turn, one of those things. So I figure Audino's my best bet, because with Regenerator, even if it U-turns, I can switch out, which I'm going to do on the Primeape coming in. Again, if he wants to just go for attacking moves on my Vileplume, eventually Effect Spore is going to trigger, and Close Combat's not going to be doing much. Vileplume is the best switch. I actually predict him to go into the Roselia this time, so I double into Haunter, and it doesn't work out for me, but my item's not revealed, so I haven't lost a whole heck of a lot. And because I'm Mega Audino, I can take these knockoffs forever, and with Regenerator, the extra damage doesn't really matter. I'm just going to set up a Wish. He goes into Seismitoad, so I don't get the Wish. I don't get value out of the Wish, but I do go in before Rocks, so I can defog. My only attacking move on this is Scald, so I can't touch the Seismitoad, but he doesn't know that. I could have Toxic, so I'm content just to kind of stall if he wants to just kind of stall. I go for Scald, I get a crit. He switches out, probably expecting me to go for Toxic, so that's nice. My Mantine set isn't revealed yet, which is also a good thing. He's going to go for Knockoff. I can go into Audino pretty much every time. He goes into Miss Magius. I'm just going to get a Wish set up, and if these are the Life Orb set, Malamar is pretty much always the best set. So I go into Malamar, but it's actually a really cool defensive set, which, well, I guess a stall breaker set, which I don't see often enough. But this Miss Magius set is pretty cool, and I've always wanted to try it with Miss Drevis. The only problem is the Violet getting knocked off, which would happen. I'm not max attack, which is why it's doing so little, and obviously I'm burned. Goes into Liepard, takes the knockoff very easily, of course. He's going to U-turn. There's not a lot I can do about that, to be honest. So I just go into Vileplume, hoping for the Effect Spore again, because U-turn's not going to be doing that much, really. He goes into Mesprit, and I'm not going to risk staying in for the Zen Headbutt because that's too risky. Like predicting the U-turn, so I can really just always go into Audino, set up a Wish. I kind of wanted to go into Vileplume and heal off here, but if you want to just set up hazards, I thought this would be a great time to start Calm Minding, because other than the Seismitoad with Toxic, he has nothing for this. So, and I'd be at +3, so it would deal very nicely. But the way he brought that in, he definitely has Encore, so I cannot stand on that. Definitely going to go straight into Vileplume, and he goes for a knockoff here. Perfectly fine. Effect Spore finally triggers, but I do get most of my health back with Synthesis. Doubt he'll want to stay in and spam not very good damaging knockoff, so he goes for U-turn, and I just go for a Giga Drain on anything that wants to come in, and I get some good damage on the Mesprit and get some good health back. I wanted to predict the U-turn really, really bad, but I wasn't that real, so just went into Audino. He goes into Liepard. I was tempted just to set up a Wish, because if you Encore that, obviously I'd be passing that into something, but I just went for Dazzling Gleam, and I did not Mega Evolve because I wanted to keep my Regenerator. I definitely wanted to keep my Regenerator. It was going to be very helpful. Predict the close combat this turn, which is what he goes for, because I still haven't Mega Evolved, so maybe I'm just normal Audino, not Mega. I take this as a good chance to reveal that I am sub, because he might just think I'm Scarfed, and seeing as that pitiful damage, I wouldn't want to be staying in, but he gets a rest up, I get a sub up, and I get the first kill for Haunter. I guess he didn't really have a good switch in for Haunter anyway, to be honest. Goes into Mesprit. It's going to U-turn, but I mean, nothing wants to take a Shadow Ball anyway, so there's no point in me going for a second sub. Seismitoad is going to take a lot of damage from the Shadow Ball, and I've seen his moveset so far as Stealth Rock's Toxic, and I know he's going to have Ground Stab, so I just need to disable this Scald, and it can't touch me whatsoever. So that's exactly what I'm going to do right now. And instead of going for a sub, I go for an attack here, because I assume he's going to try to set up rocks in my face on me going for the sub, but just goes into Miss Magius, and that dies. So that's fantastic. That's a second kill for Hunter. Comes in with Mesprit, and definitely not staying in on that. I go into Malamar to sack it. Also, a tiny part of me hoped he'd go for Zen Headbutt, but honestly, I was just sacking it. If he went for U-turn, if he went for knockoff, I'd get initiative either way, and seeing as he's locked into knockoff, this is a perfect opportunity to go into Audino. I can start Calm Minding. I won't be doing enough to deal with the Primeape. I take this opportunity to finally reveal that I am the Mega. Surprise, but he doesn't actually go for the close combat, so I didn't need to do that. Gonna go to +2, and I stay in here and Dazzling Gleam, because I'm looking over my team and I'm like, yeah, I still have Vileplume. I can still, I have Aromatherapy. This doesn't matter, so I'm gonna stay in Dazzling Gleam. Good amount of damage. he switches out, wants to save the Seismitoad because Dazzling Gleam is going to do nothing to Roselia, even at +2. And I'm like, hey, perfect opportunity to get that aromatherapy off, am I right? So I go into Vileplume, but oh my god, this friggin' Roselia, how does that do so much damage from a not fully evolved Pokemon? Jesus Christ. So Sludge Bomb 2-hit KOs friggin' Vileplume at that health, which really sucks. I couldn't aromatherapy, and if I was able to get the aromatherapy off, I feel I could have swept with Audino a lot earlier. He brings in the Toad, takes a Zen Headbutt. He goes for the Toxic, and this is where this is why Hypno is shit, because it just misses. And that, I mean, the miss doesn't seem like it mattered, but it kind of did. Oh, and there's a crit Earth Power. Um, the miss doesn't seem like it mattered, but it actually did because it meant he got to set up Stealth Rocks as he died, because Zen Headbutt wouldn't have killed after I missed that first time. So the miss actually kind of sucks, but like none of these hacks mattered on the final turnout of the game. He brings in Mesprit, and no use trying to save Hypno, so I'm gonna let it die to U-turn, and I'm gonna get initiative to whatever he goes into. Going to Audino, it really can't do very much to Audino. Like it's max defense. Like look at that close combat from a Primeape. That does nothing. He has Scarf Mesprit, so. And I know his Primeape's locked in. So, yeah, he's got Scarf Mesprit, and he has Primeape that's locked in, but that did way too little damage for me to think it's banded, so I don't know. Maybe he has 2 Scarfers, which I wouldn't agree with, but I could not tell you. Sludge Bomb does not enough to break a sub, as I can see here, which is very nice, so I'm going to set up a sub right now. Sludge Bomb, yeah, we see it doesn't break my sub, so I'm in a pretty good position. I know Haunter is going to be my win condition, so I need to keep it alive, and I know that my Sludge Bomb isn't going to be doing very much to him, so I need to start fishing for the special defense drops. He's not going to be doing very much to me. I think I just go for Shadow Ball. No, I do go for sub this turn, and I make what looks like a stupid play, what looks like a play that I made just because I could. And you'll see in a second what I do, but I did what I'm going to do specifically because I know I could have killed the Mesprit. I know that, we all know that, but if I killed the Mesprit, he'd bring in Primeape, and I don't have a switch in for Primeape because Stone Edge would obviously kill Haunter, it would kill Mantine, and I wouldn't be able to switch in with Audino on a Stone Edge if he wants to lock himself into that. So because of Stealth Rock's damage and Toxic damage. So I could not have Haunter in when Primeape came in, because Haunter was my win condition. I also needed Mantine just to take some hits, and Audino would be nice to take a hit from the Primeape, but I didn't really have anything to switch into it and then deal with it after, because if I sacked Mantine, then brought in Audino, he'd just go into Roselia, and I'd lose 2 Pokemon, and he could eventually sweep me with Primeape. So I did what I'm going to do because I needed to not have Haunter in without a substitute, of course. I couldn't have Haunter in when he had Primeape in unless I had a sub protection of a sub, because he's either Scarfed or we Speed Tie. It would be really iffy. So I do what I do, and then I switch out into Mantine. I guess I'll just show the rest of it. So I go for another sub here because I know he's going to outspeed, and if he goes for U-turn, I want to sub up because I would definitely like a sub up. He goes for a knockoff, which is the only other thing he could have gone for, and now I'm going to go for the Disable, which is that stupid move that I told you looked stupid. But I know he's going to stay in because he needs to kill this Haunter because it's the only thing standing in his way. So I go into Mantine because Struggle is not going to... It's not going to kill. It does a lot. It would have killed Haunter, but it's not going to kill Mantine. And I need to defog so that Haunter can re-enter the battlefield and take a hit from Roselia. So I needed to defog. And this is what the part that I was talking about earlier in the intro. He goes for U-turn because that would, after toxic damage, Mantine would be dead. And this is the best opportunity for me to rest, and I go for it, and fantastic, I get to rest. He can't set up Stealth Rocks again, so Haunter is definitely going to be able to survive and take a hit from Roselia. And I think I get the burn every time with Scald, which is kind of funny. He stays in. He's just burning off my sleep turns, honestly. I think he goes for rest this turn. Yeah, he goes for rest this turn, gets all his health back, which he needed to be able to take on Haunter, because that would have been a 2-hit KO for me, and he'd be a 2-hit KO on me, but I don't speed. So he goes into Mesprit now on the turn that I'm gonna wake up, obviously, because it's 2 turns and you wake up, and I Scald and kill it. Very nice. Now he brings in Roselia. I just stay in, go for the Scald. I get the burn again. As I said, I think I get every time. He goes for Giga Drain. And I switch now into Audino because I want to take a Giga. I know I can take a Giga Drain, 6% from toxic damage, and then 1 hit from Sludge Bomb, and then set up a Wish and die. But he predicts that. Very good play. Go for Sludge Bomb this turn. So basically, I want to get a Wish and then go into Haunter because Haunter would definitely, obviously, be able to take a hit. And then I get full healed up to full, but that doesn't happen, so that's a shame. But I disable his Sludge Bomb this turn, and he's at a low enough amount of health that he can't really just stay in, or else he'll get 2-hit KO'd. So I am gonna be able to, well, like after burn is what I'm saying, obviously, right? So kill the primate, and he comes back in and kind of has to. I was gonna say he kind of has to. Yeah, he does kind of have to rest, or else I would kill him the next turn. So I get a sub up. Um, he can't break it, so even though I'm in a low amount of health, it's basically as if I'm over 25%, and I get a crit with Shadow Ball. I know I have 3 turns to do stuff, and I get a second crit with Shadow Ball. Not that it really mattered, because I was getting enough with Black Sludge and dealing enough damage that he would have to keep resting, and I'd pretty much gain the amount of health that I lost from the 1 turn he'd be able to attack. But basically, between this stall fest, eventually I'm going to get a special defense drop with Shadow Ball, which I do, and that's pretty much game, because after the special defense drop, I am going to be easily able to kill it in 3 turns from, because he has to rest and be asleep for 2 turns. So, special defense drop basically just meant I won, and there it is. So yeah, very, very fun game and very good, very close game.